Shiva Mahapuranam Rudra Samhita Parvati Khanda Chapter 52 Serving of feast to the marriage party and retiring of Shiva to the bed. Brahma said, O dear one, the extremely unfortunate and intelligent Giriraja Himalaya decorated his courtyard for serving food to the people of the marriage party. The place was broomed and cleaned and plastered with cow dung. Several types of fragrances were sprinkled there for making it attractive. Thereafter, Himalaya invited all the gods and others who had accompanied Shiva delightfully for the taking of food through his sons and the mountains. Listening to the invitation of Himalaya, all the gods, including Vishnu and other gods besides Shiva, went for taking food. Himalaya, feeling overjoyed, made special seating arrangements for Shiva, Vishnu, and other gods quite respectfully inside the house and made them occupy the excellent seats. Several types of dishes were served, and then Himalaya, with folded hands, spoke in humble tone, You kindly have your food. When the gods like Vishnu and others were so honored, then they started taking their food, placing Shiva in the forefront. Then all of them collectively, having been seated in lines, smilingly started taking their food individually. Nandi, Bhringi, Birabhadra, and their Ganas were seated separately. All of them kept on taking their food with great curiosity. Indra and other gods, besides the Lokapalas, appeared well decorated and kept on taking food, cutting jokes mutually. All the sages, Brahmanas, and the rishis like Bhrigu sat in separate lines and started consuming food lovingly. Thereafter, the Ganas of Chandi, after finishing their food, started joking with one another joyfully. In this way, Vishnu and other gods, after taking food, rinsing the mouths, and washing the hands, lovingly retired to their respective ashramas. At the command of Mena, the chaste woman, offering prayers to Shiva with devotion, led him to a decorated apartment. Getting seated over the decorated, gem studded lion throne, Shiva glanced at the charming beauty of the place. The palace was illumined by hundreds of burning lamps of gems. All the vases kept therein were studded with gems, and the place was decorated with jewels and the diamonds. The house looked charming with mirrors of gems. The white fly whisks had been placed there. It was decorated with the garlands of jewels and diamonds. It was quite charming, beautiful, decorated with numerous paintings made with enormous imaginations. The influence of that place had increased after the boon of Shiva. It appeared like the Shiva Loka itself. The place issued several types of fragrance. The sandal and aguru the sandal and aguru pastes were kept there. The bed of the flowers had been arranged. Vishwakarma had arranged several paintings in the same. Several diamond garlands had been arranged therein. At that place, the pleasant Vaikuntha had been built there. At places, Brahmaloka, and at places besides the cities for Lokapalas had also been made. At places, the Mount Kailasa, the abode of Indra, and Shiva Loka at the top were shown. Observing the surprising types of abode in this way, Shiva was pleased, praising Giriraja Himalaya. The Lord Shiva went to sleep with pleasure over the comfortable gem-studded bed. Himalaya arranged for the food of all his relatives and friends who had been invited by him, and then he finished the other tasks. On the one hand, Himalaya was engaged in old jobs in the palace, while on the other hand, Shiva was sleeping. In this way, the night was over and the time of dawn arrived. All the people, with enthusiasm and courage, played on several types of musical instruments. All the gods, including Vishnu and others, woke up, reciting the names of their family deities. All of them got ready. Keeping their vehicles ready, all of them got ready to proceed on journey to Kailasa. Then they deputed Dharma to Shiva. At the command of Lord Vishnu, the yogi arrived in the cottage of Shiva, spoke to him, who was the Lord of Yogis. Dharma said, O Lord of the Pramathas, you may face welfare. You get up and grace all the people in their inner apartment. Brahma said, thus listening to the words of Dharmaraja, Shiva laughed. He looked at Dharmaraja with a compassionate eye and left the bed. Then he spoke to Dharmaraja smilingly, you can go, I shall follow you shortly. At these words of Shiva, Dharmaraja went back to the inner apartments. Lord Shiva was also ready to go there. On learning this, the entire group of ladies reached there with enthusiasm and with their minds devoted at the feet of Shiva. They started singing the welfare songs. Then Shiva, who had been well versed with the tradition, performing the essentials of the early morning, went to the inner apartment with the permission of Himalaya. O sage, huge celebrations were held at that time, in which, besides the reciting of the Vedic hymns, the four types of musical instruments were also played upon. Reaching his place, Shiva offered his salutation to sages Brahma and Vishnu. Other gods bowed before him in reverence. At that point of time, slogans of victory and the of the Vedic mantras were auspicious sound of the Vedic mantras was heard. There was a huge tumult. इति श्री शिव महापुराणे द्वितीयायां रुद्र संहितायां तृतीये पार्वती खंडे बरवर्ग भोजन शिवशयन वर्णनं नाम द्विपञ्चाशत्तमोऽध्यायः. Chapter 53, Shiva's return after marriage. Brahma said, thereafter all the gods like Vishnu and others, besides the sages, finishing their essential assignments, got ready to go to the house of Himalaya. Then Himalaya, after taking bath, adored his family god, called the relatives in the city, delightfully went to the inner apartment. Adoring Shiva, they said, you stay here in my abode with the members of the marriage party for a few more days. With my meeting with you, I have become graceful as well as successful, because you arrived in my abode with all the gods. In this way, Himalaya spoke variously and offering his salutation with folded hands. He invited them as well as Shiva. Thereafter, Shiva, accompanied with Vishnu and other gods besides the sages, they reached in the abode of Himalaya and said, the gods said, O excellent mountain, you are graceful, you possess great glory. There is no auspicious person comparable to you in the three worlds. Because Lord Shiva, who is the only support of the noble people, the supreme Brahman, and the one who is well disposed towards his devotees, has kindly arrived with his devotees. O Giriraja, you got a place for us to stay which is quite beautiful. You honored us all appropriately and served us the unique type of food which was beyond description. Such type of hospitality would not be a surprise at a place where the goddess Shiva, Ambika, is present. Everything has been completed and we are graceful today by arriving here. Brahma said, in this way they started praising one another. Several types of celebrations were made. Sound of the shouting of victory as well as the reciting the Vedic mantras was heard. The welfare songs were sung. The apsaras started dancing. The bards started singing the praises. All of them were well rewarded with riches. Then Himalaya took Shiva to his home. Various types of food was served and jubilant celebrations were held. For the purpose of serving food delightfully, Shiva was made to accompany them with his kith and kins. The feet of Shiva, Vishnu, myself, Brahma, and other gods, besides the sages, were washed. Besides, the feet of those people present in the mandapa were also washed, and they were made to sit at the appropriate places. The juicy items of food were then served by Himalaya to them. Then Brahma, Vishnu, and all others took food with Shiva. Then the ladies of the city indulged in the customary utterance of foul and abusive words while laughing, jingling, and peeping at all of them. O Narada, they took their food and water, washed the hands, rinsed the mouths, taking leave of Himalaya, went back to their respective places. O sage, in this way, even on the third day, Giriraja honored all by presenting them with gifts, etc. On the arrival of the fourth day, they performed the ceremony of Chaturthi Karma in an appropriate manner, without which the marriage ceremony would have been incomplete. At that point of time, several types of celebrations, shouts of appreciation, slogans of victory, the dance, and the musical performances were held. On the fifth day, all the gods delightfully went to Himalaya and prayed him for the grant of leave. On hearing this, Himalaya spoke to the gods with folded hands. You stay here with me for some time more. Thus speaking, Himalaya made the gods Shiva, Vishnu, and myself Brahma to keep on staying there for several days. In this way, when they lived there for long, then the gods sent Saptarshis to Himalaya. Talking appropriately to Mena and Himalaya, they convinced them, and praising Shiva, they explained the Shiva Tattva to him. O sage, with their arguments, Shiva agreed to proceed on the journey. Then Shiva went to Giriraja accompanied with Shiva. Then Shiva went to Giriraja accompanied with Shiva. When Shiva, the lord of the gods, was about to leave, then Mena started crying aloud, and she spoke to the Lord of compassion. Mena said, O compassionate one, kindly protect my Shiva. You kindly ignore 1,000 faults of Parvati. This daughter of mine is devoted at your feet for many births. Except you, she does not think of any one else while sleeping or awake. O conqueror of the death, getting absorbed in your devotion, delightfully shedding tears from her eyes, she becomes emotional. On hearing your denouncement, she becomes silent as though dead. Brahma said, thus speaking, Menaka, dedicating her daughter to Shiva, became unconscious in his presence. Thereafter, advising Mena appropriately, taking leave from her, and Himalaya holding enormous celebrations accompanied with the gods, Shiva started for the journey. Wishing well of Himalaya, all the gods, making Shiva as the leader, proceeded on the journey silently. In the orchard outside the city of Himalaya, all the gods waited for the arrival of Shiva and Parvati. O excellent sage, the journey of the marriage party of Shiva has been described. Now you listen to the separation as well as the celebration of the journey of Shiva. Iti Shri Shiva Mahapurane Dvitiyayang Rudra Samhitayang Tritiye Parvati Khande Shiva Yatra Varnanang Nama Tri Panchashattamodhyayah. Chapter 54. The departure of the marriage party, duties of a chaste wife defined. Brahma said, then the 7 sages spoke to the Lord of the mountain. Make arrangements for the departure of your daughter today itself. O great sage, on hearing this, Himalaya, realizing the separation of Shiva from her parents, felt painful for a long time, realizing the separation of Parvati from them. After some time, he became conscious, and accepting the proposal, he sent a message to Mena. O sage, listening to the message of Himalaya, Mena, who was engrossed in the thought of the pleasure and the pain, got ready to send off Parvati. O sage, Mena, the wife of Himalaya, observed all the formalities prescribed in the Vedas as well as the family traditions holding celebrations. Girija was, with the permission of the king, decorated with gem-studded gold ornaments and the silken garments of 12 types. As per the desire of Mena, each and every chaste Brahmana woman instructed Parvati in the duties of the chaste wife. The Brahmana lady said, O Parvati, listen to my words with love, which are the cause of righteousness, being blissful in this as well as the other world. It makes the listener comfortable. Therefore, you lovingly listen to my word. Therefore, you lovingly listen to my word. A chaste lady is always graceful. No other woman is adored before her. She purifies all the lokas and destroys all the sins. O Shiva, a damsel who serves her husband like the god, she enjoying all the comforts in this world and ultimately achieves moksha with her husband. Savitri, Lopamudra, Arundhati, Shandilya, Shatarupa, Anusuya, Lakshmi, Swadha, Anusuya, Lakshmi, Swadha, Sati, Sanjana, Sumati, Shraddha, Mena, and Swaha are all the chaste ladies. There are many others, the names of whom have not been mentioned for fear of making lengthy the list of their chastity. Lord Shiva is compassionate to the depressed, worthy of adoration, and the goal of the good should be served by you always. The duties of the chaste lady are very vast, which have been defined in the Vedas and other scriptures. There is no other vrata so admirable than this. A chaste woman would take food after her husband has taken food. She should stand up when Shiva is standing. She should go to sleep after her husband does so. She should go to sleep after her husband does so. But she has to wake up before her husband wakes up. She should always work for the welfare of her husband. O Shiva, you should never go before Shiva without adorning yourself with ornaments. She should not wear the ornaments when the husband is away or is out of town. A chaste lady should never call the name of her husband. She should not be angry when the husband is annoyed, and even when she is belabored. She should express happiness, saying, O Lord, beat me more. When she is called, she should at once attend on him, leaving aside all the jobs, and should come to her husband with folded hands, offering her salutation to him. She should not stand at the gate for long, and should not visit the house of others alone. She should not reveal the secrets of the household to others. The material for adoration should be kept ready without being asked to do so. She should wait for the time what is to be done and what is not to be done. Without the permission of the husband, she should not proceed on pilgrimage. The cultural celebrations should not proceed from a distance. A woman desirous of proceeding on pilgrimage should sip the water with which the feet of her husband are washed, because the said water represents the water of all the tirthas and holy spots. There is no doubt about it. The chaste woman The chaste woman should consume the leftovers of food of her husband, besides the sweets, etc., taking them to be the auspicious prasada of the Lord. She should not take food without serving the gods, pitras, the guests, the servants, cows, and saintly mendicants. She should be efficient in collecting the material for use in the household. She should always be pleasing in her mind, should not spend more than the income, and should always be engaged in the service of her husband. She, such a type of woman, is indeed a goddess. A chaste woman a chaste woman should not perform any vrata, fasting, etc. without the permission of her husband. Because if she does not do so, she cannot earn the auspicious reward and she falls in the hell after her death. While the husband is engaged sportively or is comfortably seated, she should not disturb him or ask him to get up for attending some household work. Irrespective of the husband being impatient, distressed, sick, or senile, happy or unhappy, the husband should never be transgressed. When a woman is in period, she should not show her face to anyone for 3 nights and should not shout till she is purified after her bath. After taking her bath, she should first of all have a look at her husband alone, or otherwise she should look at the sun thinking about her husband. She should always use and should not forsake turmeric, vermilion, saffron, collyrium, a blouse, the betel, the ornaments, brushing and plaiting the hair, bangles, and the earrings. A chaste woman will never associate herself intimately with washerwoman, a harlot, female ascetic, and a fallen woman. She should never talk to a woman who is inimical to her husband. She should never remain alone, nor should she take bath naked. A chaste lady shall never sleep over a mortar, thrashing rod, a broom, a grinding stone, near the door, a machine, or a threshold. Except at the time of sexual intercourse, she should not display her strength or initiative. She will like what her husband is interested in. A chaste lady shall be happy when her husband is happy and shall be sorry when her husband is sorry. The chaste lady who remains equanimous in the time of pleasure and pain. Her mind should remain unblemished and she should keep patience always. When ghee, oil, salt, and other articles are exhausted in the household, the chaste lady should not trouble her husband, informing that the things have exhausted. O celestial goddess, for a chaste lady, her husband is for better than even Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. But you have Shiva as your husband. The lady who, disregarding the desire of her husband, performs vratas, fasting, etc., she actually reduces the life of her husband and falls in the hell after her death. A woman who gets enraged at the words of her husband and gives reply in return, she is reborn as a bitch in the village or a she-jackal in the lonely forest. A chaste lady should not be seated over the high pedestal of husband. She should not keep company of the wicked people. She should not talk to her husband in panic. She should not denounce her husband. She should not quarrel. She should not shout in the presence of the preceptors, nor should she laugh before them. Finding the husband coming from outside, she should please her husband with food, water, betel, costumes, pressing of feet, sweet talk, wiping out the sweat, and other noble actions. A woman who pleases her husband thus, she earns the merit of pleasing all the three worlds. The father, brother, and the son bring up or feed the daughter, sister, or mother respectively for some time, while the husband has to maintain her wife forever. Therefore, she should adore him always. For a woman, the husband is a god, besides being the preceptor, dharma tirthas, and vrata. Therefore, a woman, leaving everything, should adore her husband. An evil minded woman who, leaving her husband, unites herself with others. She becomes an owl in the next birth, living in the cavity of a tree. A woman who, after having been beaten by her husband, tries to beat back, she in her next birth becomes a tigress or a cat. A woman who looks at other persons with side glance, she becomes squint eyed. A woman who is the absence of her husband consumes the sweets alone. She is reborn as a she pig in the village, consuming the refuse. A woman who talks to her husband with disrespect, she becomes dumb in her next birth. The one who becomes jealous of the co wife of her husband, she is always reborn as an unfortunate woman. A woman who, escaping the eye of husband, looks greedily at other person, she becomes one-eyed and ugly. As the dead body becomes inauspicious after some time, similarly a woman without a husband cannot be purified even after the bath. Graceful are the mothers and the fathers in the world in which there is a chaste lady living. Because of the merits of the chaste woman, the men's of the father, the mother, and the husband's races, upon 3 generations, enjoy all the pleasures in the heaven. The wicked woman, the wicked woman, by their evil ways, make 3 generations of their parents and husband to suffer for long. Wherever the feet of the chaste woman fall on earth, the land gets purified and the sins are washed out. There is no doubt that the all pervading Lord, the sun, the moon, and even the wind remain desirous of touching the body of a chaste woman in order to purify themselves. The one who purifies others also feels that he has been purified today. The wife is the base of the household, besides that of the comforts. With the cooperation of the wife of Dharma is achieved, and there is the increase in the progeny. One finds woman with exquisite beauty and comely nature in almost every house, but a chaste woman can be had by the grace of Shiva alone. The present and the future could be overcome by means of the wife alone. The auspicious deeds concerning the gods, men's guests cannot be performed without a wife. He is the householder in reality in which there is a chaste lady. The other people are overpowered by the woman like an old demoness. As the body is purified by having a bath in the Ganga, similarly the chaste woman purifies everyone whosoever has a look at her. On the other hand, a woman who has a god as her husband Both the husband and wife are treated to be like Shiva and Shiva. Therefore, both of them should be adored. O Parvati, such a husband is the form of Omkara. The wife is Shruti, the husband is the penance, the woman is Kshama, forgiveness. The husband is the reward, while the woman is the noble action. Therefore, both the husband and the wife are graceful. O Parvati, in this way I have narrated the dharma of a chaste woman. Now you listen from me their divisions and the classifications. O goddess, the chaste women are of four types, the mention of whom is always remover of the sins. There are the best, the middle ones, the inferior, and the very inferior. The characteristics of each one of them is being explained by me, and you listen to me attentively. The woman who witnesses her own husband even in dream and never looks at the others' husbands, she is treated as the best of the chaste ladies. O Parvati, the one who because of her noble wisdom looks at other men like her father, brother, or the son, she is called middling type of the chaste woman. O Parvati, the woman with noble character who possessing the knowledge of her dharma does not fall in evil way, she is known as the chaste woman of the degraded type. A woman who does not involve herself in adultery because of the fear of her race, she is called degraded one by the ancient acharyas. O Shiva, thus these four types of chaste women remove all the sins and purify all the people in this as well as the future world. With the influence of the chaste woman, the wife of the sage Atri, at the prayer of the three gods, brought back to life a Brahmana who was killed because of the curse of Varaha. O Shiva, O Girija, leaning about all this, you should always serve your husband, who fulfills all the desires. You are the mother of the universe, besides being the great goddess. You are the wife of Shiva. By remembering you, the woman become chaste. O Parvati, O gentle lady, for you the words spoken are of no avail. Still, I have spoken out these words following the worldly traditions. Brahma said, thus speaking, the Brahmana lady stopped, bowing to her in reverence. On the other hand, Parvati, the beloved of Shiva, was very much pleased. Iti Sri Shiva Purana Dvitiyayang Rudra Samhitayang Tritiye Parvati Khande Pativrata Dharma Varnanang Nama Chatu Panchashattamodhyayah. Chapter 55. Shiva returns to Kailasa. After thus instructing the goddess Parvati in the conducting of a chaste lady, the Brahmana woman, while taking leave of Mena, told her to make preparations for the journey of Parvati. Accepting the command of the Brahmana woman, she was overpowered with the affection of her daughter, getting upset at the same time. With the separation of Kali, she somehow composed herself and called her. Embracing her, she cried aloud. Parvati, too, speaking humble words, started weeping. Overpowered with the grief of separation, both the mother and the daughter fainted. With the cries of Parvati, the wives of the gods too were fainted. All the women fainted while crying. What to speak of others? Even Yogeshwara Shiva also started crying. In the meantime, Himalaya also reached there with his sons, courtiers, brahmanas, and the relatives. Pressing the daughter against his chest while crying, he said, where are you going? Thus speaking, he kept on crying again and again. Then the Brahmanas, together with the learned priest, delivering discourse on Atma Vidya, appropriately advised everyone. With utmost devotion, Parvati bowed in reverence to her parents. Following the worldly tradition, Mahamaya, Parvati, again started crying aloud. At the cries of Parvati, all the women, sisters, and brothers also started crying. Then the mother of Shiva, sisters, brother, father started crying out of affection. At that point of time, the Brahmana arrived there and apprised them of the auspicious time for the departure on journey, cautioning them at the same time. Then Mena and Himalaya somehow composed themselves and got the palanquin for the seating of Parvati. The wives of the Brahmanas made Sita to be seated in the palanquin. At that point of time, the parents and the Brahmanas blessed her. The chief queen Mena and Himalaya presented to Parvati such of the articles and ornaments which were beyond the reach of the ordinary people. O sage, Parvati offered her salutation to her mother, her father, the preceptors, the Brahmanas, the priests, the sisters, and other women, and then departed from the house of Himalaya. Having been overpowered with affection, Himalaya, accompanied with his sons, went to the place where Shiva was seated with the gods. All of them then started celebrating the occasion. All of them offered their salutation with devotion to Lord Shiva, and then then returned to Kailasa, the abode of Shiva, praising him. Then Shiva spoke to Parvati, I am going to remind you, although you are well aware of your previous birth. In case you remember it, then you should speak out the same. In my divine sports, you have always been my beloved. Brahma said, on hearing the words of Shiva, Parvati, the beloved of Shiva, then spoke smilingly. Parvati said, O Lord, I am silently remembering everything, but presently you perform all the essential duties today. I bow in reverence to you. Brahma said. Thus, listening to the nectar like words of Parvati, engaged in the worldly traditions, Shiva was extremely pleased. Making all the materials ready, Shiva made several types of eatables and served them to Narayana and others for eating. Those who had joined his marriage and the others were served by Shiva the delicious articles of food quite lovingly. All the gods, with their spouses, getting adorned with all the gem studded ornaments, bowed in reverence to Shiva. He eulogized him with the best of the stotras. Then, circumambulating him, praising the marriage ceremony, they went back to their respective abodes. O sage, Shiva, then according to the worldly tradition, bowed in reverence to me, Brahma and Vishnu, as Lord Vishnu had offered his salutation to the sage Kashyapa. I blessed Shiva, embracing him at the same time, and he in return eulogized me as the supreme Brahman. Then both myself and Vishnu bowed in reverence to both Shiva and Shiva. And with their permission, praising the marriage, returned to our abodes. Shiva too, together with Parvati, engaged themselves in the divine sports in the mountains delightfully. The Ganas of Shiva too were happy, who adored the married couple. O dear one, I have thus narrated the auspicious story of the marriage of Shiva, which removes all the grief, bestows happiness, and increases the life and riches. A person who, purifying himself and with a devoted mind, will listen to this story or regularly recites the same to others, he surely achieves Shiva Loka. This story is quite surprising. It bestows welfare besides removing all the obstructions and ailments. It bestows the glory, long life, sons and grandsons, fulfills all the desires, grants comforts, as well as moksha. It removes the danger of untimely death, is the cause of immense peace, is auspicious, and the remover of all the sufferings. In all the functions relating to the adoration of Shiva, the person desirous of his welfare should recite the same, making all the efforts because it pleases Shiva, especially at the time of the consecration of the gods or at the time of the start of all the functions relating to Shiva. Recitation of this story should be made. Getting purified, the story of Shiva should be heard, because by listening to the same, all the desires of a person are fulfilled. There is no doubt about it. Iti Shri Shiva Mahapurane Dvitiyayang Rudra Samhitayang Tritiye Parvati Khande Shiva Kailasa Gamana Varnanang Nama Panchapanchashattamodhyayah. Here ends the third Parvati Khanda of second Rudra Samhita of Shiva Mahapurana.